Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. My name is Brittany Page from the Page Perspective here on YouTube, and it's been a pleasure to join you all today as we go through the day's headlines. David is truly a generous and kind person for giving other creators the opportunity to gain some new eyeballs, and I appreciate that so many in his audience also appreciate seeing a new face every once in a while, so thank you. While recording, this story broke after I'd previously done a segment on it, and these updates are just too important to skip. I genuinely believe this story is going to be a problem for Donald Trump. This is a follow-up related to the Arlington National Cemetery story. The New York Times is on it now, and we're learning more about the cemetery employee that was involved in the altercation with Trump's team, as well as family members of a fallen soldier who is concerned about Trump's decision to use the cemetery as a backdrop for his political campaign. Remember when that NPR reporter noted in the photo used by the Trump campaign that there were 2 additional graves visible, in addition to the fallen soldier's family who invited Trump to the cemetery? He noted that those families of the additional 2 graves, that they did not consent to Trump's use of this photo, and that it would become a problem.
In one of the photos that's widely circulating and being used by the Trump campaign, former President Trump is with family members of a fallen soldier. But to the left and the right of that soldier's grave, you can see 2 other tombstones. And it seems fairly clear that neither of those families has given consent for the Trump campaign to use these photographs. And that's incredibly painful for these families. And many of them are still grieving the loss of their loved one.
Well, he was right. Even as Donald Trump wasted no time creating a TikTok video for his campaign, including the photo, we're now hearing from the family of a soldier who is buried in the cemetery, where Donald Trump had this photo op. According to reporting from the New York Times, the family of a Green Beret who died by suicide after serving 8 combat tours and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery expressed concern on Wednesday that Donald J. Trump's campaign had filmed his gravesite without permission, as Mr. Trump stood in an area where campaign photography isn't allowed. Relatives of Master Sergeant Andrew Marchesano issued their statement 2 days after Mr. Trump's visit. Sergeant Marchesano died on July 7, 2020, after moving to Washington to begin a job at the Pentagon. He had 3 children, and friends said he had chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from his time in combat. He earned silver and bronze stars during his service. His gravesite is adjacent to that of Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, a Marine who was killed in the 2021 bombing at the Abbey Gate outside the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. The Hoover family is the family who invited Trump to the cemetery. Now, this is horrible, tragic. This is something this family does not need. They do not need Donald Trump using their family member's grave as a backdrop in a campaign video on TikTok. So this is yet another example of Donald Trump's disregard and disrespect of the military. And how many more instances can Republicans ignore, and not just ignore, but defend? We're also learning about the cemetery employee who was involved in the confrontation. Quote, a woman who works at the cemetery filed an incident report with the military authorities over the altercation. But the official, who has not been identified, later declined to press charges. Military officials said she feared Mr. Trump's supporters pursuing retaliation. Of course, that makes total sense. Listen, as a woman who talks about politics on the internet and right now has an open investigation into credible death threats and rape threats that I've received from a Trump supporter, I understand this fear. But this isn't normal. A Republican presidential candidate's team abusing an employee at a military ceremony and cemetery who is trying to enforce federal law preventing the candidate from using that cemetery as a backdrop for a political ad, who is trying to protect families who did not consent to this? Where is Marine J.D. Vance in all of this? Still making excuses?
Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Kamala can go to hell? Is she the one disrespecting military families left and right? Enough with the games. Let's deal with reality on reality's terms here. Donald Trump is going toe-to-toe with yet another military family, and we know which side Republicans will take.
Support our show by checking out our sponsor, Brain FM Focus Music. They're giving you free access to their app for a whole month at brain.fm/Pacman. Once you try Brain FM, you'll quickly understand why this has become my go-to music app when I just want to focus on work. In addition to music for focusing on work, they have modes specially designed for sleep, relaxation, meditation, all created by musicians working with neuroscientists. Brain FM is the only music app funded by the National Science Foundation because of their unique audio technology that changes the patterns in your brain. Brain FM has been an amazing tool when I just want to focus on work. In the past, I've tried Spotify or YouTube. I end up distracted or can't find exactly what would be most useful for me. So at a certain point, I figured silence must be the solution until I discovered this. Brain FM is personalized depending on your brain type, even has a special ADHD mode that provides extra stimulation to brains that need it the most. So if you want to improve your focus or relax, give Brain FM a try for 30 days totally free. Go to brain.fm/Pacman. The link is in the description.